calling this meeting to order. This is the Putnam County Industrial Development Agency. We're going to start with a joint governance and audit committee meeting. And attending that, it's 6:12, is Bill Knopf, the chairman of the board, with Ed Cook, Mike Carlson, Joe Downey, and attending is Michael Lewis, soon to be our chief financial officer. Okay, and the purpose of this meeting is to act upon one of our resolution for naming board officers, which were chosen at the January 27th meeting, and to introduce and authorize the new CFO, get authorization for the Putnam County Savings Bank checking accounts and custodial account for Braymore, and to update the authorized signatures, and to go ahead and continue the services for our consultant and legal services. So let's start with, has anybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Not the agenda, the resolution, which is basically, do we want to read the whole thing, or can I skip that?
Well, I think we need to read it, Bill, so.
Okay. Well, this is, the Putnam County, this is resolution number 2022-2-8-1, which is for a resolution naming the 2022 Putnam County Industrial Development Board officers, our new chief financial officer, authorizing the signees for the Putnam County Savings Banks accounts, and also on there is a continuation of our current services for consultant and legal services. And the opening paragraph is just our legal standings, I guess. And whereas the agency in authorized session on Thursday, January 27th, did enact resolution 2022-1-27-1 to induce the Braymore Living Carmel, and at said resolution specified the required special account to hold a fund to cover expenses as prescribed by the retainer, dated January 19th, 2022. And whereas the agency accepted the resignation of William Carlin as chief financial officer and agreed upon his replacement by Michael Lewis, the Putnam County Chief Deputy Commissioner of Finance. And whereas the board in session on Thursday, January 27th, 2022, assigned duties of officers to the board for 2022. And whereas the service contracts for compliance consultant Terry Moveda and legal services by William Schilling should continue. Now therefore, this is the resolution, is the chairman will be William Knopf, the vice chairman will be Edward Cook, the treasurer will be Michael Carlson, the secretary will be Joseph Downey, and Michael Lewis is now the agency chief financial officer. The above named persons are designated authorized signees for purposes regarding the agency Putnam County Savings Bank accounts, and the services and the service contracts for compliance consultant Terry Moveda and for legal services by William Schilling shall continue, effective upon passage of this resolution. Any comments? Should be aware, just for clarification, that when we get to the point where we're creating the signatures for the accounts, not all of the members necessarily need to be signees, but we should have at least 3, preferably 4 people that are available for signing or checking other financial accounts with the Putnam County Savings Bank. So, there being no other questions, I'll accept the motion to act on this.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mike?
I'll second it.
And
All in favor, aye?
now we do it that way. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we know that Steve and Serena have resigned, so that's fine. So, at this point, we'll move forward to, moving this to the full board for, final action, because the committee just recommends this.
A motion to close or adjourn the governance and audit committee meetings?
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. That
Welcome
being
aboard, it's official.
okay. Make sure you can work. Pay attention to what you're doing. Okay. Okay, this board meeting, now the full board meeting is called to order. Again, attending are William Dahl, Chairman, now Edward Cook, Vice Chair, Michael Carlson, Treasurer, Joseph Downey, Secretary. Attending are Michael Lewis, Chief Financial Officer, and Terry Riveda will not be attending tonight. Also in attendance is Mike Stevenson, our IT person, who's attending in Washington. Report from the Governance and Audit Committee meeting. Mr. Vice Chair, would you like to explain what we did, and where we're going?
You're gonna have to help me with that, Bill.
Okay, well, we read and we looked at a resolution number 2022-2-8-1 and acted upon it. And that was a resolution naming the board members, the new financial officer, authorizing signees for the Putnam County Savings Bank accounts, and also included in that was the continuance of the services of the consultant Terry Riveda and William Schilling. At this point, we do it again. Take a vote on this to pass this resolution. I had a motion by Mike, okay, and a second by Ed. And okay, I guess at this point we should do it financially. I'll vote yes. Joe?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Steve and Serena are absent. Okay. That having been done, the treasurer's report, I can report that right now we have a little over $18,000 in our bank account, and the only thing outstanding right now is one check for $4,000. We were also in the 2022 budget authorized $40,000, which we can dip into if we need to. We're also expecting a $5,000 retainer that will pay for any of the expenses incurred by Raymar Living in Carmel, the assisted living facility. And so we've got some funding coming there. When they have the closing, which they're hoping for in April, we should also get a substantial amount of money as part of the closing, as part of our, I hate to call it piece of the action, but our fees there. Speaking of fees, Terry's going to be sending us a revised fee schedule because she's been looking at it, and the fees that we've been charging are somewhat antiquated, and so she's pulling together stuff to line up with what other agencies are doing, and that information will be available to us shortly, and we look forward to making some kind of an action on that in early March. Any questions about where we stand financially?
No, but I do have under the governance committee
Yes.
a question. Reading the minutes, I don't see anything on the local labor policy in the minutes. For the last meeting, we voted on it to move it forward to be in effect as February 15th.
Okay, I'll make sure that we add that to the minutes. Thank you. That was.
Does anybody have any objection to that?
I thought we voted on that
I thought we did two.
I thought it was last month we did it.
No, we did that in December.
Yeah, I think we did that in December.
We did that in December.
Okay,
Yeah.
Remember that was the day we had all those emails discussing it
okay,
prior to?
Yeah.
all right.
That was the.
That was
meeting.
December?
Or maybe we met in early January, then again late January. It was
Yeah.
definitely the meeting before last.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I will review that,
All right.
make any, and I'll make sure that let everybody know what was done. But I know that, yes, it has been passed. Matter of fact, we did it specifically because we wanted to do it before the end of the year,
Correct, right.
so that it was
It's just-
inclusive, but not necessarily implied upon, the Braemar, although the, Lenida extension.
Yes.
Our audit is going along quite well, actually. It's easier now that we've cleaned up some of the lingering projects that hadn't been closed out. And hopefully we'll have the results of that in the near future, definitely in plenty of time before the end of the time that we're allowed, so it'll be done before, basically before March. And that's all I have to say at this point. About the audit. It's going well. It's nice to have these without having to chase people around and look for places that aren't there anymore, which is one of the problems we have with some of the projects. New member resumes. We have a new resume from Simon Carey that I will circulate to the members of the board so that they can take a look at it. And I encourage anybody else that can get any people that are interested to send in their resume and a note of why they're interested so that we can circulate that, and hopefully we'll have some names that we can look at our next meeting and invite them in for interviews. But I think we should definitely take a look at resumes before we go to the point where we're inviting people to talk to them. Any questions about that?
Oh, where's he from?
Kent, town of Kent.
It's Carey, his last name?
Yeah, Carey, Simon Carey. I'll get that out to you. We made the discussion, I sent out the information regarding the New York State Economic Development Corporation's Economic Development Conference for the end of February, first day of March. It's got an interesting agenda, but for those that are interested, we'll definitely we can sign them up. But I didn't see anything that particularly flipped my switch. So, but anybody that wants to go to it, you're welcome. It's an in-person, it's not a virtual meeting. And the agenda is expanding, so as I get more information, I'll keep sending it out.
Did we have one last year or was it the year before?
It was the year before. Last year we had a virtual get-together at one point.
We did the training
Yeah.
virtually. Yep, and that's right. This one, they were gonna expand the content when they figured out what it was gonna be.
Yeah.
You went to the one before.
At Albany, yes.
Okay. Current projects. Azendico is still our stellar project. They're doing quite well. They're moving along very well on their most recent expansion, which they didn't need IDA help with. But in the meantime, they're keeping up with all the things that they need to do with the IDA. And they've done a great deal of work with the community during this whole COVID period. The Ahana Comfort Inn project survived COVID and has survived fairly well. They were able to get emergency people and stuff like that as tenants, and they got together with the emergency services and the health department so that they were able to do that. And their general manager is a very energetic person who's been going around and lining up people in the neighborhood, in the area that would have like horse shows and stuff like that, which is in the area that they're at. Also the Brewster Ice Arena, she's got connections there, so when they have things going. So she's been very active there, and they've done quite well. Braemar Living, we know that we just induced them, and they are very aggressively looking to get their financing in order so that they can have a closing, hopefully in early April, and get construction going. So we'll have a closing at that point if we can, and get things going, and that'll make our life a lot more interesting too. The Glenida Distillery, all I can tell you is the same thing I've heard recently, is they're still on. We don't know exactly what they're gonna do. They made some modifications to allegedly what they're gonna do with the program, but I haven't seen it yet, so I haven't seen what the new application looks like. Older projects, 7 Sutton Place. Don't lose this, Bill, here it is. 7 Sutton Place has basically been closed down, and we're just waiting for some final paperwork to be done there. Brewster Plastics was in negotiation with their bank, the financial institution, but that has not reached any action, and so it's still in limbo, and the court hasn't done anything at this point, and the county has not started to proceed with any legal things at this point, so everything's kind of in just limbo.
And is there a reason why the county isn't moving forward?
Because they're waiting for the bank. Well, number one, they couldn't do anything because they couldn't do any eviction until just recently. Okay, and then now they're doing it just because they were waiting to find out if there was going to be some kind of a settlement between the bank and what they're doing. You know, that would be obviously to everybody's benefit, depending on what they're doing. But some of the early things that they were asking for were a little outrageous, like, you know, forget all our penalty dues and things like that. But we'll have to just see how it goes. It's in the courts now, so it's where we stop there. What was I going to say? We have one other project that we carry on the books, but only because they have a bond with us. It's Broadreach, which had a long-term bond. It extends out to 2032, but they've cleared their pilot, so they're paying full taxes now, and then they just report, but they're doing a good business and moving forward. And there was actually some talk at one point where they may try and refinance, which would close down their bond and change things there, so we'll have to see how that comes along. A lot are happening now that the COVID is starting to break loose and the courts are starting to work again, so that's going forward. Rooster Crossings, which is the Envision Rooster project, part of IPARC. They're in the process now, I guess, of finishing up some of their final land acquisitions and getting things lined up, and so we'll hear more about that. Brewster Industries, which is the Northeastern Logistics, we haven't heard any more from them recently, but it's also interesting that because Pugsley Road is opening up, there's other properties along that area that we're starting to work around, and Kathleen Abels from the Putnam County Economic Development Corporation has got a couple of different people that are trying to line some things up. One is to set up something that would be a television and also then a production studio for filming and stuff like that. There's a couple other people that are looking at those properties. So, you know, it's a good thing that Pugsley Road is starting to open up, and they'll figure out what to do with the traffic when it comes all down to it. So that's what's going on there. Terry, like I said, she's gonna send us, some information about, our fees, things like that. But we're going along pretty well. And, then what we just need to do is, we're on schedule right now to process everything we need to do for our Paris reporting. And I would really like to see us have it all closed out before the end of March. It would be a major accomplishment. And I think there would be a loud noise up in Albany too, if we were able to do that. Not from any of the politicians, but from the people in the state controller's office. And so also we've got the board evaluations. I asked you already to get those in. That's part of one of the requirements in the ABO. So we want to make sure we get those in, and so that's on time. And I don't know, did I send the compliance list out to you folks about the schedule of compliances, what you have to do each month and stuff like that, just to give an idea of what the IDA is tasked to do?
I didn't see that.
I will get that out to you. It's scary. It was much easier if I only knew about it a month at a time. But when you look at it for a whole year, it's really, it's pretty awesome. And it's one of the reasons why I think that as we go forward, I was talking with Mike Lewis before about our hope that maybe with the new county executive coming in and things like that, maybe we can change around. And the IDA, which we are a board, we're not really an agency because we have no staff at this point, but we could be aligned with, an agency or a department that can take on some of this staff work for us on a regular basis, as opposed to relying on interns that, we can get for a few months and then they're gone. And, by the time you get them trained, then they're gone, that kind of model. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that as we go forward in 2022. So, over and above that, any other questions? Anybody got any comments? Anybody want my job? I keep trying.
Although Ed is inching closer and closer as vice chairman.
You pull me as Mr. Treasurer.
It's like Ed's angling for it.
Okay.
He passed up treasurer. He wanted to be closer to the big chair.
I will get together with you guys as soon as we figure out exactly what we're doing with Braemar to get their account set up. I'm waiting for the paperwork that we need from Putnam County Savings Bank. Then I'll get together with you and find out where we're going. At this point, I know for sure that I would need to be on it. Mike, you should be on it.
Who cuts the checks?
I do,
You cut the checks?
yes.
So out of practice, would it be fiducially sound to have, other than the person that cuts the check, have different signers to protect you? I mean, I'm not worried about you because I know you, but as a point of
At this stage,
practice.
it is a point of practice, until we get to the point where there's something else happening. I think I would keep it the way it is. But as soon as we, if we ever got aligned with somebody that could do the bookkeeping and stuff like that, I would much prefer to have a bookkeeper cut the checks and have somebody else sign it, that kind of thing, so.
Also depending on like thresholds, you have to have a dual signature
Right,
and stuff like that.
It's,
We voted on a policy on that.
we did.
Above a certain amount, we need 2 signatures or
It was
something.
Should be
$5,000.
5+.
I think it was
But I
$5,000.
will tell you now, I don't care, maybe I'll go to jail for it. But, during this whole COVID period, sometimes it's been inconvenient to do that and stuff like that. So there have been checks that have gone out and payments that have been made that have exceeded the threshold, but they've been reported, they're all documented. So,
They just weren't for your country club membership, right?
no.
Then it should be fine.
Until I get done with my PT, I don't think my golf game is going to go, so it's not that important. The suggestion was made by our consultant that we have preferably 2 meetings in March, one for some housekeeping, and then one to make sure at the end of March, which would be probably a special quick meeting, to make sure that we've got everything in proper order so that we can close out Paris properly. So
Tuesdays are preferable for me.
Tuesdays are good. Tuesdays are good for everybody.
The second Tuesday is good. March is a tough month for me, towards the end of the month. I'll know more next week.
So at this stage of the game, the second Tuesday in March is the 8th. Why do I already have that? Oh, okay, not to worry.
Yeah, second Tuesday's the
Yeah.
8th.
The second Tuesday is the 8th, and all the things that have been canceled are the Putnam County Economic Development Council meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's good that that should be canceled. So Tuesday the 8th tentatively, we'll set that in. And 3, 8. And, where were we just looking in March?
6 PM on that.
Yeah, 6 PM again, is 6 PM good for you guys?
6 p.m.
Maybe the 21st of March, I know that's a Monday.
22nd or the 29th aren't good?
No, I might be in Texas, I don't know yet, depends on what happens.
Want me to carry your bags?
If you'd like,
Yeah.
I'm a good tipper.
Okay. As we get closer, we'll find out where things line up. I don't know if we'll be ready at the 22nd, but at some point there,
We can pick a day on the 8th then.
huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we meet again on the
pick
8th.
a day on the 8th, we'll go from there. Okay.
30th might, 29th or 30th might work too.
Okay. That being the case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Mike
adjourn.
again. And
I'll second it.
Ed. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? We're out of here. Thank you.
Now,
See? I told you.
Thank you guys.
now are we
Yes.
done, are we done recording?
I'm gonna make my